He's a note taker.
Sugar.
All right, we're good. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the October, although September 30th, October, town board workshop. All right, get everybody rise, please, for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, before we get started, we got our board with us. We got the Deputy Supervisor Steve Moreau, Councilwoman Councilwoman Sylvia Santiago, Councilwoman Eve Lincoln, Councilman Charlie Bro, our Highway Superintendent Anthony Feo, our Receiver of Taxes Stephen Scheibel, our Town Clerk Patty Clarino, our wonderful comptroller Dorian Casey. Also got with us our Town Attorney Dave Zagon and Police Chief Danny Valeri is with us too as well. Thank you and welcome everybody. First item on the agenda is this grant for the courts. Part of this grant was that the one of the components that was required of the town board take action on it and pass the resolution. So the court is looking to get a $981.50 grant to scan in a lot of their documents to save on some space, stuff that can be destroyed, but we have to, instead of retaining it in our ever so crowded basement downstairs where we have our files, it's a grant that they put in. So this is gonna be on a motion that we approve or that we authorize that they put in for the grant. Like I said, once that it's authorized with the board, I'll sign it, the judge had signed it already, and we will send it off for hopefully to get the $30,000 grant to save on some space. So that is for the court scanning. The number two thing on the budget is on the agenda is the tentative budget. Something I have our comptroller obviously here with us. The town clerk was able to hand out the budget to everybody in our packet, the tentative budget for 2025. I know Doreen has been working like a mad woman on it, day and night, weekends and everything on it to try to get this done. For this, it was definitely a challenge with this tax cap and everything to keep everything at a good number here. So I'm gonna I know the board just got it, so I don't expect you to have any questions yet. Obviously the way it's gonna work is everybody's gonna get it now. You're gonna have, I'm gonna ask you either in a couple of minutes or at the end of the meeting, we gotta come up with a date to have a special meeting. Probably, I'm thinking about the week of the 14th. We can do a day that week to approve it. The tentative will become a preliminary budget, and then after that, it'll be adopted at some point, you know, when it becomes the adopted budget. So with having that, you guys got it in front of you. I'll turn it over to Doreen to just do a kind of brief explanation of where we're at and what's going on with it, and then I'll let her go home.
Okay, well, first and foremost, we're able to be under the cap by a small amount of $2,300, which is very difficult with the rate of inflation of the last 3 years, 7.2%, 6.3%, and most recently 3.3%. So a total of 16.8% inflation. And we're limited to a 2% tax cap increase annually. So, but to mitigate a little bit with our effect on our property tax bills was the increase in the town's taxable valuation. So that being said, the estimated property tax bill increase all in is about $29.31
Per year, per house.
for a typical household.
40,000.
Assessed at 40,000.
Yeah, right.
The proposed water and sewer rates are going to be held flat, no increase. To mitigate tax increases, we did have to budget use of reserves. This year, a total of $2.9 million, $2 million of which is in the general fund. I mean, all the funds though do have very healthy fund balances, and even after the use of these reserves, if needed next year, they're still going to have between 4 and 6 months fund balance to cover, to cover 4 to 6 months of the expenditure budgets in each fund. The main budget drivers this year were labor. It was mostly due to the contractual increases with the PBA and the CSCA. So the labor budget is increasing by about 1.2 million. It limited increases in new hires to one new full-time police officer, but mid-year in 2025, a part-time town clerk, part-time in garbage, and a part-time labor and highway. And also a new full-time recreation aide. Employee benefits. We won't know the medical premium rates until December, but I tentatively plugged in a 10% increase. And with that being said, the aggregate increase in employee benefits is going to be about 6.1% or $644,000. The majority of that is the health insurance, which is about 340,000, and retirement contributions. Those rates have increased for 2025. So retirement contributions will increase by about 343,000. Contractual O&M increased by about $1 million or 6%, mainly due to those inflationary increases. The KMO contract, they did get a bump up. The sewer fund, their sludge costs are increasing dramatically. And then in the water fund, their labor rates and just the proportion of what we use, Butterhill Well versus Riley Road versus Kroll, all that resulted in an increase in the water fund for KMO by about 211,000. And the big one is the ambulance fund. NUVAC originally requested an increase of 900 from 624,000 for the year to 900,000 for the year. He was able to negotiate that down to 804,000 for the year. That's mainly due to their loss of revenue stream for mutual aid and for private transport by like $250,000. So for them to stay afloat, they need an increase in their funding from the town. So,
Which is all part of the whole general increase too, right?
oh yeah,
That's what's-
it all
it's not
goes
it's not
into,
separate.
it all goes into the
Unlike the
limit in
sewer
the
and
tax
water.
cap.
Yeah, unlike the sewer water, the ambulance is part of our general, so it creates a very difficult gap there to tell you with this tax cap and everything, so.
So, and other than that, the mortgage drivers it's always sales tax, which that's just under 21% of our general fund budget. I always try and conservatively budget sales tax. So for this year, we budgeted 5.3 million. Actual 23 sales tax was 5.8 million, and 24 we budgeted 5.2 million, but we're likely gonna well exceed that for 24. Mortgage tax is trending downward, so I had to bring that down to 800,000. Although we are going to meet our budgeted 24 mortgage tax of 850,000, likely exceed it by probably about 140,000. Then we have other compensation for loss, which are the New York State DEC reimbursements for water purchases that they extended our contract through May of 26. So that brings in about $1 million to the general fund and about just under 200,000 to the water fund. And then bank interest in all the funds, we've been really lucky the last couple of years with rates over 5%. I brought that down to about 3% because that's the Fed's target rate for next year. So that came down a little bit, but at least we do still have a strong interest income there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it in a nutshell. So if you guys have any questions over the next couple of weeks, call, text, email, I'm available.
I have a question now.
No, go ahead.
You mentioned, the labor costs, I think you said like 1.2 million, a part of that's based on the contract negotiations,
Right.
but, and then you mentioned a few new positions, but then you think you said mid-year, do you mean that mid-year those positions would,
No, just
oh,
the one police officer to be
Okay.
hired next year that was approved is
Uh-huh.
approved to be hired mid-year.
So they
mid-year.
usually have, it depends on when the academy starts,
Right.
or if it's a lateral,
Yeah.
when they get, the lateral would be driven by, they could hire somebody tomorrow if they wanted to,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
it depends on when the academy starts. They don't get somebody in the academy and October, then it buys that salary for that year, for that 10 months.
And also
Yeah.
helps phase in
Yeah, right.
that salary
Yeah.
into the budget.
But the other
So-
positions you mentioned, that would be January?
They're
Oh, yeah.
for now budgeted as
Yeah.
of January
Okay,
first,
that was the
yeah.
question, that was the question I was gonna say. I was confused.
Yeah, so
Well-
the two part-time spots, I know, Anthony was looking for a full-time in each, or well, full-time in one and two HEOs, so two highway and one, sanitation. We're gonna do two part-timers, one in each, one full, part-time in highway and one in sanitation. How he uses them, it's up to, normally if you go, I believe, 20 hours a week for the whole year, or 40 hours a week for 6 months, I believe it. I don't know what, however that works for him is, trying to get somebody to do that is what will help for now. Again, just to try to keep it, down to, I will say, like I said, during work, a lot of time, the $29, although with new contracts and use of some reserves and everything, is the lowest it's been in 8+ years. And it's like the third lowest in the last 15 years, so, it was actually pretty good, especially with the increases of things going across the board for everybody throughout the country. The $29 is not bad. However, it is the tentative budget. You guys get to look at it. And if you have any suggestions or thoughts you want to do, the only difference is that we would either exceed the tax cap or cut a lot other things, more things that you think we need to cut in order to get some things you want to say, whatever. So it'll be the tentative until we come up with a date with mid-October to have it to become from tentative to preliminary. And then after that, it'll be adopted.
I have a quick
And then
question.
we'll-
So a few months ago, we had that presentation with the new wastewater and what that was gonna mean to the residents, and it was gonna increase their taxes. I don't know if that's the graph that you have there,
No.
a couple of $100, not a lot, but
Mhm.
to expect in this new tax year. So if we're saying it's only $29, there's no additional funds
No,
or,
not for, that's
What-
not to the.
Well, that's for the sewer fund, yes.
okay,
So that-
I thought you said water and sewer were flat. That's
No,
why.
those are the O&M rates.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
the
gotcha.
utility billing.
Okay, gotcha.
But as far as actually the water, debt service came down a
Down,
little bit
yeah.
for
Okay.
next year.
Okay,
Sewer debt service, obviously, because of that did go up.
okay,
But, and we projected about $12 to $15 in the tax bill, and it's more about, I think like, about $10 in the tax bill increase.
No, I think the.
I'm sorry, $12.
The
in the tax
O&M is
bill
the
increase.
operation and maintenance of it, so that obviously is increasing for us all across the board.
actually, no, I just wanted to be careful as to what
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
saying, it's only gonna be this, but if it's, when they get the bill, what it will
So
actually
when
be.
the,
Right.
when the bonds and bands start hitting is
Okay.
when we start doing that. So that's that's what I think when we did the
Yeah.
presentation, it was like 26 to 27 for the sewer to hit the
Well,
numbers.
this is
The
the
large
ban that
numbers.
we issued this year, which
Yeah,
was
right.
minimal. It was
Yeah.
only $5 million.
Right.
So that's why the first year
Yeah,
Perfect.
it's-
of
Okay, so
that
the
is
next-
only a $12 hit
I
in
asked
a
for that
property
before.
tax
Next
bill.
year, you'll see the sewer.
Okay,
be
great, thank you.
a substantial increase from what we had done in the public hearing.
But as I remember that night when Mike gave that presentation, even at the end of that, if everything goes the way that he had planned that out, even at the end of that 5 years, we're still gonna be under the county average,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh,
We're still gonna,
no.
we're still
Oh,
gonna.
yeah,
be
no,
under that.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Right,
no,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
I
it's,
think that's,
and that's providing, I guess that'd be what still thinking. I mean, we're planning on how much it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll come in cheaper,
Well,
who knows,
yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
but maybe it'll come in a little more. I mean, given the way things are
Well,
running.
it's gotta be
So
done.
there's,
So
we
it's gotta
can't,
be done.
we
There's absolutely
can't
no
predict the
question about it.
future,
Yeah.
but for what we have to work with now, our employees are, are pretty,
Yeah.
good. They're happy. They're not going anywhere. Nobody's retiring and wants to leave yet, at least not that I know of. And for doing this we have healthy funds, and for the amount of work she did with this particular part of the budget for, like I said, this was the graph that I had from the last several years. And
Oh, gotcha.
last year was nearly $60. This year, 29. So it was a pretty good, a lot of work put into it, and she did a fine job by it. Trust me, if I could do that every year, I would, but I don't know if that wording will sustain that like that, but we'll try. But yeah, so like I said, I would go through this.
Yeah.
You'll have between now and whenever we agree at the end of this, so when we're gonna meet to have that special meeting. I'd like to give it a couple weeks, because we gotta put it in the newspaper, so we don't miss that deadline. And we'll get them in there and going, and then we'll vote on it. So anybody got any other questions for Doreen, or Mayor, myself,
Thank
anything
you
with
for
this?
everything.
Yes, thank you very
You
much.
still gotta look at it,
No,
so I'm
you-
sure you do. Once you look at it, I'm sure you
I'll
have.
be telling you.
And by
Thank
by
you.
all means, if you have any questions on it, don't call me, call Doreen. She's the one that's gonna have a good answer for you. And she'll answer her phone in the middle of the night and everything. Give it to her. Yeah, exactly. Don't do that. All right. So moving on to the next item on the agenda is the Halloween curfew, which we have every year. Halloween, that is. So we have the curfew is, it's gonna be start at 9 PM on October 30th and it expires at 6 AM November 1st, the 24th. So that's gonna be on the agenda for,
It's actually the 30th and the 31st, right?
yes,
Yeah,
30th,
yeah.
31st.
Yeah.
It's the
I like
kind
that.
of like to get people a little practice ahead of time, so the chief's got a good handle on that, so we're moving on that. Next item on the agenda, so this is, I just want to give you guys a heads up, it's something in the works we're doing, it's for conversation right now. If it does happen, it's not gonna happen until January. So I've had a number of people call me throughout, and I'm sure my predecessor has, and everybody has dealt with it in reference to we'll call feral cats or people with cats in the community, yada, yada, yada. So, Jess, the part-time, one of my secretaries in my office, along with, Patty and her staff in her office and Stacy Conley have put together a whole package. Then they went through, when we met and we talked and everything, they come up with some pretty comprehensive rules. I know they look good up until, I'm assuming as soon as the law office gets it, they're gonna chop some things apart, but I think for, for the good side of it, they looked at it and he has some concern, he wants to put some caveats in here, so. But it, in a nutshell, is that, I told him I wouldn't mind trying this program, kicking it off if it doesn't cost the town any money. Is that possible? Well, apparently it is, so there's a firm called Will Spay Pets. It's a nonprofit, I guess, organization that has committed to giving us $2,500 a year towards this program. And the former supervisors, one of his part-time secretaries, Ronnie, very, very nice woman, has a group that has funds and stuff like this that she wants to contribute that, so she's guaranteed us $1,600 to it. And I've had a couple other people call me in reference to want to make some donations. So right now, just to start off this program, and I'm gonna give you a Reader's Digest version, we're gonna have like a $4,100 bank. It's gonna be based on a New Windsor resident only. There's a whole system they have set up if somebody comes in here, if it's a feral cat community. So right now, if you go to a firm organization called Tara and have your cat, if you have a cat at home and you go to have it spayed, it's gonna cost you $90 if you're walking off the street, or $80 if you're walking off the street. They only charge organizations to town, we have to send a contract with them $50 to do that. So with that, we have a bank now. If somebody walks in the street and proves that they're a town resident and they have a cat and they want to have a spayed, they're gonna come pay the town $40 and the town out of this bank is gonna kick in $10, give them a voucher, and then they're gonna go and have their cat spayed for $40, if you will, instead of the 80. With that comes rabies shots as well as ear cleaning and so on and so forth. If there's a person that's in, and like I said, some of this stuff is, I was learning this stuff, if there's people, there's some feral cat community people out there that are out there and they know where these feral cats are ganged up at. They go out and they feed them and they look at them and they check them. If one of those folks bring them in, they have to be from New Windsor, they have to prove that it was in from the community, that they found it, and they have a system that they're gonna plan on doing it. Their take would, they have to pay $25 a cat. And then our bank would kick in $25 for that too. Again, it would only be a $50 fee. So until that bank gets empty, there is rules. If you see the packet, there's a whole packet. It's gonna have a bunch of rules on it, how it's gonna work. Again, Dave's gonna have to look through it. They came up with well, in conjunction with the police department, they come up with a little pamphlet they're gonna hand out. On the back of the pamphlet, we're gonna have our program when they do it with it. To give it a shot, like I said, it's free. I know Ronnie here from the office has dealt with Jess and I think Patty a number of times and wanted to see it kick off. And this Will Spay Pets are all into it and they're on it. And I've had a lot of numbers of people call me. So, you know, if you guys would read that packet, if you got any questions or anything, by all means, Patty, Stacy, and Jess, my office are kind of running this. And then once Dave looks at it, we just needed a caveat, like a whole harmless clause in there that we're gonna put in there. And other than that, it looks like a lot of communities, believe it or not, a lot of towns around us do it, a lot of them.
Mhm.
And it looks like, and it's, again, it's not gonna cost the taxpayers a penny. This is either donation money or this company that's giving us the money. We're just administering it, so it's gonna be our time. And Patty so graciously said, oh, yes, of course. So
Thank you, Patty.
if you have any questions, again, you can bounce it off of either Patty or somebody in my office or station. Number 5 on there is no parking signs. I know there's gonna be a public hearing on this. There's 5 areas that, and I'll just hit on them really quick there. We're gonna concentrate on putting these signs up. Willow Parkway, like we had talked about last time, that section between Willow Lane and Willow Parkway where you can go left or right. That on both sides of the road. Walnut Avenue, fronting the New Windsor Fire Department's property on Walnut. From MacArthur, a couple hundred yards.
Isn't that the property like the youth football plays on and the cheerleaders?
It's the
Or
property,
they-
no, well, it's the property they park on.
Right around where I used to
But then
live.
they cut
Yeah.
through, but they haven't been using it. Apparently the cheerleaders don't use it anymore.
Oh.
So yeah, they weren't. It's the property they were parking on, yes. And it's not, they were cutting through the New Windsor Fire Department property to get to the football little
Yeah.
league. And it was causing a whole rigmarole.
But I
there.
feel like I still see a lot of cars right
They-
there every.
They're not, has nothing to do. They're just people parking there. Yeah, yeah. They tried to get them to stop parking there and the police department can't enforce anything because there are signs that were not put up by us. So in this sense, they can.
There we go.
Karate Lane, which is the road that our, Stewart
Yeah.
water plant is on, both sides of Karate Lane from the top all the way down. Avenue Americas, there's a little stretch of, Avenue Americas is only a couple hundred yards in front or leading up to the new DMV site, which I went out there today. They had a couple people out there doing the road tests. So they have, like a 200-yard section prior to prior to the start of the site, they're looking for no parking for people. It's honestly in the middle of nowhere right now. So it's not really a huge, problem there. And the Hillendale, or Square Hill Road, when you pull in off of Little Britain Road, on either side there, I think everybody might have got a little thing on this from the police department. They did a little study. Do you have that there? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they have this Square Hill Road they're looking to do, so, again, it's just, there's been a parking problem there. A lot of people complain they only can get one car through, and it's a fire department headache as well, so. Once that, we'll have a public hearing on that and hopefully approve these signs, and then Anthony's guys get to go to work and put more signs up. I know the other day I called for the DMV signs and the guy came in here, picked them up. And like a half hour later, they were up. So hey, Anthony, thank you guys. They did a good job with that. The problem is that what happens is I didn't realize it too. They got to call Dig Safe before they put these signs in. So there's a delay of a few days or whenever they get out. So, but once they get it, the okay, those guys are out hanging them right away. So I thank you for that. Number 6 is the New Windsor Cornwall Kennel Agreement. We have an agreement with Cornwall, the town of Cornwall, to use our kennels during cold winter months. They paid for $100 per animal per day up there. Our animal control officer didn't think that we were gonna use it. She called, Stacy called the police chief in Cornwall and he said, no, if you can just please redo it one more year, because they're trying to come up with some other function. So you guys would authorize me to sign that to get them to go one more year for their agreement, which expires at the end of the next month. So I could have swear if I look back that I said I would never bring these up again, intermunicipal agreements. Patrick's shaking his head already, so he's gonna be quiet. He won't say nothing, I'm sure. So intermunicipals, obviously, we know our IT contracts with several people. We got contacted by Orange Lake Fire Department. They contacted me early on in when I started, and I quite honestly forgot about them. They asked me how I was making out, and I said, we're working on it. So we finally, Patrick went out from IT. He was tasked to go out there, look at it. He looked at it. Thought it wasn't a huge lift, and he didn't really scream and push back on it like maybe one other one we have in the past. And then there's New Windsor Fire Department too. That's done by somebody that has his own IT company. So they're looking to give that up. So for the New Windsor Fire Department, we gave them a number, how much we charge them an hour, $125 an hour, because they're in town here, and that's what the local fire department pays. They were okay with it. I said, if we're gonna go outside New Windsor, then we're gonna start upping the rates. And then we went to Orange Lake, and we looked at that, he said it was okay. So I said 150, and they said, okay. I just recently too got contacted by Middle Hope. And I said, $250. I'm thinking they're gonna go away, and they're like, all right, great. I'm like, what?
I was gonna say. 150 is
So,
pretty low
yeah,
in
so
my
I'm like $500, so we're gonna be doing $1,000 an hour soon. So, well, Middle Hope, we have not, agreed to. I gotta try to get the IT department wants me to do my math a little differently. Every time I add two, they want me to minus one. So, I gotta try to work on that and figure out which one we're gonna minus, and then we'll get to that. But these two, like I said, there's two of them. There's New Windsor Fire Department, which I spoke to day before yesterday, and they were good with it. And Orange Lake's been chomping at the bit, hounding me for it. I spoke to IT. They feel they can handle it. It's not a total disaster. I spoke to our comptroller and asked her, she said, hey, it's revenue. I like revenue. Revenue makes our numbers good. So,
Yeah.
So anybody have any thoughts? No, yes, don't wanna care. They say they can handle it. You know, we do have that fourth person that we always said that we would fund with
Right.
these agreements, so.
Well, as long as we don't have to hire anyone.
They
else.
say, oh yeah, no, we're not, I'll do it. And they won't, then they'll quit. So that'll be easy. We'll get them quick. We'll get rid of them quick. And you know, they're all on board with our new way. We have to do our, all of our programs.
Or
and
cyber, yeah.
Cyber
Mhm.
stuff and all that stuff. So we're good with that. If anybody got any question or anything with that, you can certainly reach out to John and myself and we'll talk about that. So this document, program here, so this is Laserfish. Honestly, I think, Charlie, were you involved with this with?
Way back in the day,
Okay, so
way
Laserfish,
back in its
we have-
infancy stages, I was, yes.
we have DocuShare now. I think that's what it is, right,
Yeah.
Patrick? And I don't think it's the greatest thing in the world. It's actually, I think if people from the public go out and try to get on it, it's been a nightmare.
What are we
So,
paying for DocuShare?
I don't know. It's not, there's a maintenance fee for it.
Budget, I think it's about 15 this year.
Yeah, it's like between 15 and 20 for maintenance on it. So, but it's not like the support of it. It's been nothing but a nightmare. Matter of fact, I mean, prior to me first coming in here, I'm gonna say when I worked downstairs in the police department, we heard nothing but complaints about DocuShare, but we did it and we went through it. We're gonna buy this, we're gonna probably do this Laserfish. We're gonna purchase it with ARPA funds. So it's not, you know, obviously not gonna come out of general funds, and it's something they did. I know our IT, John McDonald did a present demo on it and stuff.
Yeah.
Wait, Patrick, were you involved in that? Or?
Watch from downstairs.
Yeah, and
I attended that.
oh, yeah,
it
that's
was
right. I
good.
think
Yeah,
that's where you
yeah.
said you were there. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks good, I guess, right? Patrick's better.
I think so. I'm gonna wanna, I personally wanna know what you guys think. I mean,
Pretty much anything be an upgrade over what we have now.
Right, but
It's much better program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
they do not like DocuShare. It's
No,
not-
what's the maintenance fee for that? Cause I was a little confused as to what it said. Is it 34 or is it less?
Anticipated annual fees that include 1 year for the above configuration would be 34,891.
Okay, cause then somewhere else it was talking about 2,400, so I was like, okay, and then
Yeah, maybe a
it
month,
listed the 34 as a 54.
yeah,
Gotcha.
24, maybe a month.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's $3,400. And like I said, it is now our program now, so that's gonna be, something that we're looking to purchase as well to update our management program there. So this youth program, again, our lovely law
that in your
office got
budget
a hold of this for me, which I was, okay, but so anyway, Orange County has this youth employment program, which is actually pretty cool. It's a work site program. They actually they go to towns and they ask towns to supply a place to work for kids to work, certain age group, kids from like 14 to 21 or 20. And what we do is our recreation director picked to have them work at our seniors program to work, the kids work with it. It's strictly a county driven program paid for by the county. We just, you know, give them the hours. I mean, I think they're 20 hours a week. We give them a place that we're gonna use to help senior citizens with their peers in social settings by playing games, encouraging communication, and assisting with tasks, preparing the environment alongside the seniors program leader here. So we've, you know, Jess from our recreation department has engaged this contract, thought it was pretty good, has a couple, you know, kids that may be involved in it. We gave this contract, if you will, we got to sign the contract with our the attorney's office, and as well as I did, and our paralegal had a bunch of questions on You know, it's just my concerns if they come in, if they get hurt or something
Yeah.
happens, who's carrying that freight? So some
Yeah,
of
'cause I
that stuff,
thought, yeah,
we want some insurance, we want some stuff, so some of that stuff, it needs to get answered, so I told Jess that we're not gonna we're not gonna definitely approve this, for this meeting, so if we're able to fit it in their window for November and they answer all our questions, and we get everything, we're good to go with it, but I know Dave redlined a bunch of stuff that we had questions on, which is, I'm, kind of glad that, we're gonna ask those, and if we get it and they answer it, we'll be happy to help them with the program and get, some of these kids working. With that, the last thing here is the recreation software program that we want to get into. Now, this program here, I just want to give you a heads up that like, right now, we have a program called Amelia, and it's, some $20,000 a year that no one in the recreation department likes. I say nobody likes. I don't know if it's the most user-friendly, program there is. And there's a lot of somewhat headaches. Some people know how to use it, some people don't. Our new recreation director has come in. She's apparently worked with my rec, software before. It's a fraction of the cost. It's $5,100 a year opposed to 20,000 plus. The only thing that we don't have is data conversion, so there is no data conversion component to that. So, that's something that they have to manually put in, but we would not start this, and I believe the way it's gonna be, we won't start this until the 1st of January. The Amelia had a 60-day out, which we met their standard with that, and they realized that we're not gonna renew theirs, which we're good with it, so it doesn't, no penalty, it doesn't cost us anything. And we're gonna authorize for their, but actually, we don't have to really, it's only $5,100, but, she's gonna buy this and then start the whole rec program anew with,
It
her.
would just mean that residents just
Right.
create a new account.
Yes.
Because it's not saved.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people who are gonna have to change some stuff around, but I think at the end of the day, it's gonna be much, much more user friendly for everybody. Doing reports and all that stuff, so.
So did I understand? So there's gonna be an additional fee for the manual conversion? Is that what I heard? Or
No,
no?
we're
What's-
gonna do it.
We're gonna
have- Yeah, she's gonna have her people down there do it.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
okay.
They're
So
gonna
we
have
could
to.
just make the residents every time. you're creating
Well, I
a
mean,
new
anything that's in like vendor stuff and stuff
That's
like that,
okay.
that won't flow over, that stuff, but any new people are gonna have to create, like, if you have a kid or something in camp and you need to get into my rec, you'd have to create your username,
account.
account and all that.
Oh,
But
gotcha,
any
okay.
in-house stuff, vendor stuff and everything, which I think is gonna kind of be a heavy lift, but,
Yeah, but
they're gonna,
that's a good way to.
Yeah,
update it.
they're
That's a
gonna-
good way to.
yeah, they're
update a
gonna
lot of
figure
things
it.
too, that
and they
time
can
out over
filter
time,
out
yeah.
stuff that's
Absolutely.
garbage and,
Okay, I didn't know which way it was
Yeah,
being
that's
converted,
everywhere.
okay.
That's not just with
gotcha.
us.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
that's it with that. The only one thing I just do want to bring up, I had the other day, somebody stop in, I didn't get on the agenda, just to give you a heads up that there was conversation. Really no 100% benefit to the town, but the state had come in and talked to me about, they're looking to, you know where the Animal Import Center is on 747?
Plan.
Between the Animal Import
Yeah.
entrance and 84, they're looking to put perhaps a parking area for 84, like a 84.
parking
Oh, like a park and ride?
Similar to a park ride with both truck and cars. Half of it's in the town of Newburgh, half is in the town of New Windsor.
Who's looking to do this?
The state, so they own the property, it's state-owned property. They have to, they have federal grant money, highway grant money. I asked them, I said, don't build this and pave some of my state roads. They said, oh, no, different money, different money. I'm like, oh, okay. So, they have federal grant money that they have to increase 200, 300 parking spots on the side of 84 between Pennsylvania and Connecticut. They had identified the state land already, if you will, on 747. They came in and asked, does New Windsor have any? Asked, half of it's in New Windsor, like I said, half it's in the town of Newburgh. The half in New Windsor will have a small building with bathrooms in it, in the event they do that, but both entrance and exits on the Animal Import Center entrance, which is all in New Windsor.
Is the truck still like for us?
So,
A
yeah,
restaurant,
that's
okay.
what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to, listen, I brought it to the police department. I asked them for their intake. They're obviously, for security reasons, it's one of the furthest parts in town. It's probably not the greatest thing for police wise. I get that. There's really no true benefit to the town of New Windsor. I'm not getting extra tax money. I'm not doing anything. So, probably a little more traffic on half of, a little portion of our road. I will look at it in the sense though that, there are 2 other truck places in town that have a lot of tractor trailers that rent to where they park now. I don't know, would that pull them out of town hopefully a little bit and come over here and park and for free and then they'll have to drive in and out of town? you know, what's the chances? Maybe, maybe not. A lot of the people that park in these places do live in New Windsor, so they're, you know, I can see these people dropping their trucks off and leaving in their personal car and flip flopping them back and forth. It is what it is.
Mm.
I told them, listen, I would certainly want, you know, I want them to supply us with cameras
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
ability to build on our camera system. The police department was like, yeah, okay, but we
Got it.
can put our own cameras up there without having this, so. It is state property. They did, I think if I, you know, certainly pushed and kicked and shoved and told them I didn't want it there, you know, perhaps that could happen. But they're still in the infinite stages of trying to figure this out, but they do have money that need to spend in the next year or so. Again, I wish they would just blacktop my streets with it, not this, but that's not what that money's for. So did something that may be coming down the pipe, you know, from further conversation. So if anybody has any input, or maybe the people out there will call my office and say, no, I don't like it. It's a good idea, do it. You know, trucking is a real, you know, people have those jobs, you know what I mean? Some people have, you know, we do have ordinances in town. You can't park your trucks, even if it's just a tractor on the streets. People are dumping them in their driveways. Maybe they put them there. Who knows? You know, maybe it helps.
You
them out a
get
little.
that whole truck stop, you know,
Yeah,
one
yeah.
stop west of that, you know what I mean?
So, you know, they said to me, oh, we'll put nice screening and trees around it. I'm like, yeah, no, bad idea, because I don't want it hidden.
Doesn't
I want it out in the open, so
Want it
God
lit.
forbid if somebody tries to do
Lit
something
up,
crazy,
yeah.
yeah, and I said, you know, we gotta put some downlighting and, you know, I want it security. I don't want it to be a, you know, fenced in.
I'm trying to think of
treated
people that
prison.
would park there to carpool to go, where are they gonna go? They're either going to Middletown or
Yeah, I
Port
mean,
Jervis, or they're going down the throughway.
yeah, exactly. So I don't know how
Maybe,
many,
but
but I would say, you
I
know,
may be wrong, I may.
may lend to some, who knows what people carpool.
Yeah,
You know, I think I think the biggest driver of this is that there's a lot of warehouses coming up
Trucks,
and
yeah,
around,
trucks.
and they got, a lot of these people, these businesses don't open till, some of them don't open till 7, 8 in the morning.
Right.
These truckers are parking on the side of the road, so they do that, they put them here.
okay.
I mean, hopefully in the next year or two, Stewart Airport gets blown up with some of these businesses too, so maybe it'll help somebody like that, who knows, you know, I mean, it just. You know, again, I think, and the chief's here with us, he, you know, he asked me a couple times, so what's the benefit of New Windsor? And he's not wrong, and it's like, I get it, yeah, really not much, but I try to look at the positive side of, hey, listen, maybe somebody will drive down the street and get gas, and I get sales tax out of it, or, you know, I mean, who knows, you
Yeah,
know?
we can- we can get
Maybe
sales
somebody will
tax.
buy something, but, you know, we do have a lot of, you know, obviously the Amazon, on our side of Amazon, they flood those gas stations there on Little Britain Road. Not that it's gonna help this year, but who knows, maybe somebody will put one over that side, gas
Mhm.
station. But it is state property. Other than them coming, asking me, took my temperature. This particular woman that came from the state has been very, very good with New Windsor lately on the last couple of months for some things we've been doing, so. I heard her out. And I said, if I don't get any negative feedback, you won't hear back from me, so. Hopefully the public, if anybody's got anything, they'll give me a call. Anybody else got anything before? So before we go to the executive session, I got a couple of things, the police department to bring up personnel and some litigation stuff, like you see on their upstate property, Stewart Hill. The justice court, some things I just want to, talk about.
I'll make a motion. Go to executive
Charlie?
session. Second.
Steve, now we go to executive session. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate